Good morning, everybody. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think it will be that our graduates from Michigan State University will need to be able to work successfully with other cultures? When I look at the list of presentations today, I think it's kind of preaching to the choir, isn't it? We've certainly heard a lot about that in the other innovative projects today. Well, how do we help prepare them to get to that point? We offer some of the most amazing learning abroad opportunities here at Michigan State. We deal with it in our classwork, in our coursework. We have a growing number of international faculty and students they can interact with, as we've heard from some of the projects. But we're also working on some additional co-curricular activities. And today, Dawn and I are here to talk about an exciting new project that we're doing with an organization called Crossing Borders Education. And it's a series of videos to look at how people interact interculturally. Sometimes it's more than just having the experience, it's about reflecting on it and trying to decode and really reflect on what's going on in those experiences. So Dawn and I met Arndt Wächter, the director of Crossing Borders Education a while ago, a very interesting person who grew up in East Berlin. His partner is Spanish, and he runs a company that takes American students who are studying abroad in Spain on short excursions to Morocco from a company based in Scotland. So he's a very interesting intercultural guy, and we're excited to be working with him on a series of things that we call Crossing Borders Project. And so today we're going to look at the trailer for a Morocco film that's going to be showed during International Education Week next Monday. But this film is something which is the first step in a series of films. We've just completed the shoot in China and Hong Kong of a major new documentary, and we're in post-production phase and hope to release that in 2013. So that particular project is a full collaboration between Michigan State and Crossing Borders Education, with a lot of input from MSU faculty and staff and the participation of some of our students. But today we're going to focus on the Morocco film, and we're going to show you the trailer. It's about 2.5 minutes long.
Do they still think that all Moroccans are terrorists? Do they still think that Islam is a terrorism?
Here in Morocco, we have a lot of stereotypes about like American people. They'll probably think that we're, rude and egocentric and with little care about the other world.
My stepmom found out I was going to Spain, and she's like, "Oh, there's a lot of Muslims in Spain."
I personally fed up with the stereotypes.
That's wrong. Listen, when you pass the street,
really wrong. I just want to hear from the real people.
I have never been to a Muslim country before.
It would be very interesting to travel with American people. I never met American students.
I have never met any American students, never.
I always kind of was interested in who they were, but I never asked.
So I just want them to know who we really are.
At a time of world tensions, for American and for Moroccan students will travel and live together.
Personally, I've always been drawn to the unknown. Since I was little, I always wanted to know why.
I was just afraid about this place.
السودان كيعرفوا بأنه راه زعما راه فيه الشماكرية وفيه الناس القطاطعية كيقطعوا.
ما عندكم جادو قالوا لي لا بسماركي هادي باش نعرف اش كاين.
Do you think that we are so irrational, emotional?
Somebody in Denmark draws a cartoon, and then in some Muslim country they kill a nun and they burn embassies.
From then on out, I mean, either the whole thing was going to fall apart or we were going to band together and create this trust.
Sharing experiences, encountering the other.
If that came off as like how big your heart is, like how much you care about the world around you.
And in the process, discovering themselves.
We are a simple human. We have the same needs and we have the same dreams.
Crossing borders.
So how many of you want to see it now? Good, that was the hope for effect. So this movie was produced independently by Crossing Borders before the collaboration with MSU, and we're working together on a China film. It's been part of our leadership nationally in an initiative called the China 100,000 Strong Initiative out of the State Department. We've received a couple of external scholarship grants, one from the Coca-Cola Foundation, one from Amway, to help get more MSU students going to China. And in that role, we've been trying to collaborate with our other peer institutions, including community colleges and high schools. And so the event that's going to be happening next Monday, which is the first thing during International Education Week, is in coordination with several other institutions. And it's leading up to a much bigger coordinated China 100,000 Strong Day during International Education Week 2013. And so we just put the word out fairly discreetly this year and have been kind of overwhelmed with the response. So we have over 50 institutions participating with us in doing facilitated screenings. So it's not just showing the movie, but with a facilitator and a debriefing. So more than 60 screenings throughout the country at 50 plus institutions. And at MSU, it's kicking off our International Education Week next Monday, 6:30 to 8:30 at 115 International Center in the main library amphitheater there. And so Dawn pysarchik now is going to focus on the toolkits that we're developing to support this film and the China film.
Thanks, Brett. We're really very fortunate to have a very illustrious national advisory committee behind this project. We have representatives from the U.S. State Department, from National Geographic, from New York Film Academy, from Tribeca Films, and from the Institute for Beliefs, Events and Values Inventory. So behind this whole enterprise, we have some of the best minds in the world about content of the films, but also the films themselves, the actual filmmaking process. As Brett indicated, for the China film, which we are co-producing with Crossing Borders Education, we've had MSU faculty, MSU students, and the MSU film enterprise here at MSU working side by side with our Crossing Borders Education partners. So it's been really exciting to see this whole project come together. When we were originally presented with this opportunity, Brett and I said, oh, we don't need another project. And as we talked more with Arndt, and then we talked with Jeff Riedinger, the Dean of International Studies and Programs, and we went to the Provost, and then he went to the President. They said, no, we really need to be involved in this because this is just such cutting edge kind of material presented to students in ways that we need to expand in our kind of portfolio of the co-curricular and extracurricular activities we do with students. So, because MSU is involved in it, we use the liberal learning goals and the global competencies as kind of our backdrop. Those are our goals for involvement in these documentaries. So we actually have a document that talks about MSU's liberal learning goals and global competencies and how we envision that these films actually contribute to the growth of a student, whether it be in the attitude area, skills area, or other kinds of learning kind of goals that MSU has. So we're really excited about that. We've had a lot of faculty really help us to shape the content of the China film. Remember Morocco we didn't have anything to do with, but for the China film, in ways that we really feel contribute precisely to MSU's goals for its students. So in order to do that, you can't just show a film. You actually have to have some learning resources for the faculty, for Brett told you that we have high schools involved with this and community colleges, and for the students involved. So We've done, I can't tell you how many focus group interviews with students and faculty and teachers. And so we've kind of come up with 4 major categories: multimedia, kinds of engagements for students and faculty, other kinds of activities, projects, and so on, and then facilitation resources. We've worked a lot with Paulette Granberry-Russell, and you've already seen that Venice Smith from the Office of Inclusion and Diversity Initiatives have been very much involved in it. And one of the things that we've found out, particularly for high school teachers, they don't know how to ask the hard questions about intercultural engagement. We've really taken a broad view in our analysis of what we would like to have come out of this project. And while we've shown you just now a trailer for Morocco, and we've talked about China, we've actually taken geography out of the equation, and we just talk about it as intercultural. It doesn't matter where it is. It could be over there, meaning outside the borders of the United States. It could be within the borders of the United States. We have intercultural engagements right here on our own campus. Go downtown to the Cristo Rey. And so we really have presented it from that perspective, and we think that that makes it also different from the perspective of how does this content that is focused allow you to see things in a different way, in a different context. What we did find was students, particularly high school students, but not just high school students, they have to have a focus. You can't just say, gee, what do you think about intercultural engagement? They have to have something to focus on. And then you can have some key questions that you can have some very meaningful conversations with and really tease out a lot of that content that you think is important to students. And that's what we do with the toolkits. So, I mentioned multimedia. Well, one of the things that is absolutely ubiquitous between students, I don't care how old or young they are, is media, particularly social media, but not just social media. So working with our focus groups and our teachers, we've come up with a host of different kinds of experiences and resources for our teachers and students, largely focused right now on the Morocco film, but as soon as Monday is over, we're shifting to the China film, the one that we're co-producing. So on Monday night, some of the teachers had said, and actually these were high school teachers and then some of our peer institutions. Remember, Brett said that there's 50 institutions that'll be participating with us next week. They said, well, MSU, you've really got a great panel that's going to be discussing this. How about sharing that with us? So we said, sure. So we now have a Facebook channel, and so we'll be streaming it live next Monday night so that the other, I think we're up to 55 schools, right? So the other 54 schools can actually see our panel in action. So we're really delighted about that. We also have a Twitter feed, and we have Facebook. So we're really encouraging all of these students, all of these schools, to share their various kinds of experiences that they're going to have next week during International Education Week with everybody. Social media, I've mentioned that, just a very important thing. We have some experiences that actually the students can get involved in competitions using social media. Crowdsourcing. I know Teresa's going to talk about crowdsourcing a little bit later, but one of the things that came forward really from National Geographic, they said, why don't you do co-creation? And so with all of these schools that we have involved, we're actually going to be doing some co-creation. One of the examples is, this is one of the toolkit items that one of our own faculty in French and Francophone languages developed, and that's going to probably be our first crowdsourcing experience, where we take one of the elements, and a high school teacher may develop it in another way and share it for high school teachers. The community colleges may take it and develop it in another way. So we're creating all of this content together, and then we're sharing it on the various sites that we have. So we're really excited about that. We're also doing film mashing. Interestingly enough, a lot of the high schools have film classes. The community colleges certainly do, and MSU, of course, does. So that extra footage that will hit the cutting room floor, as we say, we're willing to share that with some of the teachers, and they can actually use that in the classroom setting so that their students get the opportunity to use professionally shot footage and actually create a new document. Well, it wouldn't be a documentary, they'd probably do short films, but we're really excited about that opportunity too. And National Geographic is very much behind that. Other activities, a variety of different communication kinds of resources, classroom projects, quizzes, curriculum plans, facilitation resources. I mentioned working with Paulette Granberry-Russell and her group. Teachers need some structure. They need some ways to actually introduce these topics, and they need some help with how to introduce them in ways that when you get into a tough conversation, it might be an interracial type of conversation that you really don't feel equipped to handle as a teacher. You know, we're going to give you some resources to help you with that. Publications and readings, we have a number that are listed, again, for background material on the content of the films, but also on the format of how to do facilitation to help people. And then Brett mentioned, this is coming soon. And this is the co-produced film that we shot in Hong Kong and China. And this one is called The Dialogue. And it is really, it's focused on a lot of intercultural kinds of engagements, but particularly communication, conflict resolution, things like that. So we're really excited about that. And Brett mentioned that we're going to hopefully be able to feature that next year during International Education Week with a huge event. We're thinking 1,000 high schools and community colleges and schools. So I'm going to stop there and open up for questions if anybody has anything. Oh, well, we're getting there. We have to get through next week. Yeah. MSU Global has been really helpful in helping us to conceptualize a lot of these things. And they've brought in some experts for us to talk to, and so now we're just about ready to go to that next step. Crowdsourcing, particularly in film meshing, but not just those, so, and we thank you for that. Other questions? Well, thank you for letting us share this with you.